agent involved in a secret FBI program.
Off the books.
What kind of bad stuff do you do?
Breaking and entering. Physical coercion. You name it, I've probably done it.
Murder?
Not on my menu.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 action film Blacklight, a film that is co-written and directed by Mark Williams, and it stars Liam Neeson, Aidan Quinn, Taylor John Smith and Emmy Raver Lampman. Now the film focuses on Liam Neeson's character Travis Block, who works for the FBI, and he's like a cleaner of sorts. So, for example, when an FBI agent who works deep undercover starts getting too involved in their assignment, or they start losing it, or they need to get out, he is sent in there to get them out safely and bring them back into the open arms of the FBI. He gets involved. There is like a rogue FBI agent played by Taylor John Smith called Dusty Crane. And he's assigned the Liam Neeson character with bringing him back to the FBI. However, he doesn't want to go back. He wants to try and expose the corruption within the FBI to a local reporter played by Emmy Raver Lampman, Myra Jones. The corrupt bodies within the FBI send some cronies to try and stop this rogue FBI agent, and Liam Neeson is the man in the middle. Has got to try and stop this corruption within the FBI before it leads his own family to be in danger. Right, what are my thoughts on Blacklight? Well, we are here again, guys. We have got another Liam Neeson action film. We always think the last one that he did is going to be his last one. We always keep hearing reports that he's not going to be doing any more, but then another one comes out, and it's interesting, I suppose. I mean, he's been a big part of our screens for such a long time, Liam Neeson, and then when he discovered the Taken franchise, he was given this new action star career in his 50s sort of thing, and he's just run with it ever since. And he's been churning out these average, I suppose, action films ever since. Some of them are better than others, but a lot of them are kind of the same film, kind of twisted around and changed ever so slightly. It seems like a different twist on the same character and the same story, and they all feel you almost feel like you're watching the same film over and over again. Is this one any different? Honestly, not really, no. It's pretty lackluster, and it's a very, very familiar and predictable film and story, but that doesn't actually mean it's a really bad film. I know it's been received fairly poorly, certainly by critics, this film, but audience members seem to be responding to it a little bit better, and that makes absolute sense to me. This film is not going to win much critical acclaim. It's all a bit silly. It's not got a great script. Like I say, it's predictable, and it doesn't really have the ingredients to be critically well received. But it's the kind of film you can watch as an audience member for a couple of hours, turn your brain off, and have a pretty good time with it, especially if you're a fan of these like Liam Neeson action films that he keeps giving us, 2 or 3 a year, it seems, endlessly. But he always seems to manage to get theatrical releases. He's not lowered down to the point where he's just doing like direct to DVDs or video on demand type films like Bruce Willis and Mel Gibson, those sort of people that are doing these sort of movies these days. He still manages to, he's got a bit of draw, still box office draw, so he always manages to get these films released at the cinemas, which is a good thing. Maybe that'll change after this film, because my understanding is it's not done or doing particularly well at the cinema. But it's actually fairly watchable for the most part. Yes, it's a bit silly. Yes, the script is terrible, and it's painfully predictable. But the action scenes are actually pretty decent here. The Liam Neeson character, they try and give him this twist on his character, in the sense of they give him like OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, but they don't really do much with it. The only time it really comes into play is when he's trying to build a relationship with his granddaughter, because he admits in the film to his daughter that he wasn't a great husband and father, but he wants to make that up and be a good grandfather. But his granddaughter is teaching her things like where all the exits are and where the locked doors are. He even buys her like a taser for her birthday. So it's like the worst grandfather ever. So they don't really do an awful lot with this OCD type of thing. And I think they could have expanded on his character a little bit more, especially with his relationship with his daughter. But at least they made an attempt. Sometimes in these movies you don't get anything. You just get this shell of a person with no life or backstory or anything like that. They do make a little bit of attempt to do it, but it almost feels like the film is ripping off Taken as well, because at one point in the film his family goes missing, and it all feels a little bit, Taken. There's a scene where he stares down like the Aidan Quinn character, who's the antagonist of the film, basically saying to him, if you've had anything to do with the disappearance of my family, you're going to need more men. And you're just kind of like, oh, that's a bit Taken, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, the action scenes are okay, nothing special. They don't stand out. There's a pretty good car chase scene with a truck near the beginning of the film, and there's a couple of other decent scenes, but there's nothing really memorable. There's no real memorable characters here. The Aidan Quinn character, the antagonist of the film, is exactly what you expect from his character. They don't try and flesh him out at all. So it's you don't really get anything. You don't really get any real reason to hate or dislike the guy. Poorly written character. The Emmy Raver Lampton character, the reporter, again, not given enough to do. She tries to work with the Liam Neeson character for them both kind of working together to try and expose the corruption within the FBI. But other than sitting down and having a chat here and there, there's not an awful lot between them, and they don't really expand on that relationship or dynamic at all, really. And the ending was shockingly lackluster and anticlimactic. In actual fact, you get this quite big action set scene, Liam Neeson going up against the bad guys, and then there's a scene where he confronts the Aidan Quinn character, and then you think, right, okay, let's go on for the next 10 or 15 minutes and finish the film, and then that's it. And you're just kind of like, oh, is that it? It was really odd ending. It was almost as if they ran out of budget and thought, right, that's it, let's finish the film here. It was really anticlimactic, and I was expecting more. So look, I mean, this film is not a bad film. I'm actually going to give it a 6 out of 10. It ain't going to win any awards, like I've said, but if you like a fairly disposable and turn your brain off type action film, you could do far worse. It's not horrifically bad or anything like that. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review, and of course I will be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.